Welcome, friends. Hello, hello. I'm just going to hang out just a minute, let people pop on, and let us do some of the sharing in the background, and then we'll be live. I'm just going to hang out just a minute, let people pop on, and let us do some of the.
You're double, which is great. Get double Kristen. Fantastic. Well, I've got us pinned and shared, so all is well so far.
I think that was my fault because I had on YouTube
Gotcha.
on the TV.
Well, that's all right. And now we are everywhere we need to be, Kristen. So we're good. Hi, Michelle. I see you. Hi, everybody. Hi, Jeanette.
Oh, good, good, good. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
got
make sure
folks
we don't have
coming
any
in, huh?
more doubling up. I had my thing open too, so for a second I was like, "Am I doubled? Who's doubling?" It sounds like we're good now, though.
Good. Yay. There we are. Excellent. Hi, everybody. We've got a few people popping in. Excellent.
Hello. Hello, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our TGBE Ask Me Anything.
I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited. I hope they ask me about chocolate because I know about that.
Christy, were you excited or terrified?
I'm so excited. These are my jazzy happy hands. My terrified hands look like this.
Oh, okay. I see the difference. I get it.
See the difference there? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Hello, hello. Let's see.
We got everybody popping it. Good gravy.
So many
Hi, everybody.
I know. I wish
it's been
such a great weekend. But my phone is in use right now.
I've opened up on my laptop so I can see everybody. So we're looking at all these people, Michelle and Jeanette and Sherry and Brandy and Margaret and Rosalinda and Melissa and Mary and Susan and Terry and Kathy and others.
And more and more and more. Hi, Jonathan. This was a great weekend. I mean, we don't call it the Great Bead Extravaganza for nothing, right?
That's very true. That's very true. It was really great. And I see Dabs popping in also from Hawaii. Aloha, Dab. Hi, everybody. Yeah, it was fun. I caught as many of the presentations as I could, and everybody was just so much fun to watch. We got such a good group. I love us all.
It's such a
new every time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask all of you watching and popping on, I'm going to ask you all a question first. What is something maybe new or delightful that you learned this weekend that you can't wait to try? Let us know.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good
one. That's awesome. I'll be watching to see. Because there were so many things. That's one thing I love is that everybody's coming from different places. You know, so we've got a lot of overlapping skills because some of you guys are just bead extraordinary. But you know, we got macrame person and we've got wire wrap. You know, there's just a lot going on. I've soldering, says Susan. That's cool. That's our guest did soldering, didn't she?
Yeah,
yeah, she did.
That was Francesca, right? Yeah, I'm bad with names.
Fun. And all the things you can do with that little torch. You know, it seems like you're like this is for creme brulee. Does you know what?
I always feel like such a big girl when I have fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's always good.
I have a Smith torch.
Yeah.
A little oxy.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
all right. Well, a couple people popping in. Wendy said your flowers, Kristen. Andy says wrapping. Melanie says mosaic, epoxy clay. Heck yeah. Metalwork, bead embroidery, more wire work. Soldering doesn't look so hard, says Kathy. Heather using a Sharpie. Terry says, I have a non-creative question. Have you been thinking about how the tariffs will affect your business? I kind of don't want to go down that road, Terry, although I appreciate it. That's up to you guys. Just because I don't want to talk about anything too negative right now. I feel like we're in such a happy, creative place.
Let's stay in a love space.
Appreciate your question, Terry, but would you mind if although you asked us, we didn't answer? Is that okay?
I feel like that answer is the answer. Like I feel like that's good enough. Answer. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate everybody asking because I mean, you know, we all have questions and such, but I'm on this sort of creative high. How about you guys?
Yep.
Yeah. Ever since, getting all of our work done last night, we were just like, I've been like on like kind of almost euphoric, like and then
Yeah.
everyone else, when you finally got everything done, there's no more that
Yeah.
can be done.
You're
And you
ready.
like, all right, it's out of my hands now. I mean, as far as much as it can be,
Right.
Yeah.
It feels so good.
Do you want me to read a few more?
We have so much to prepare for when we do these weekends, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot of things we need to prepare for,
Oh.
the projects, our presentation, also making sure we're supporting one another and encouraging our fellow presenters, and we're paying attention to what you all are making and commenting about. And it's just so lovely when you kind of get to the end of it and you just feel like, oof, that was just another.
Nothing terrible occurred with the technology already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The technology gods were amazing this weekend.
I love it.
Really,
I
really
love it.
great. And
Yeah, I haven't even glitched out.
I love it.
amazing.
Cynthia, I think that's a first, right?
That's my internet is usually like, hey, wait, you guys, there's a thunderstorm. I have to go and like batten down the hatches.
Right.
Really, it seems like our internet is
Well, it is part of what makes it exciting, right? Because nothing feels quite live like some sort of disaster.
Right.
So for whatever that's worth, we didn't provide the disaster, but we did everything else.
Well, Abby brought us the alarm at the end, which I don't think I even heard it. I don't know. I don't feel like I heard it, but you mentioned it, so I knew it was happening.
Yeah.
So it was disaster adjacent, but it didn't really land, so that's good. Did you want me to read some more of what people said, or are you seeing that?
Sure. Go ahead. You can read a few more.
I'm seeing it. Heather using a Sharpie. I thought that was my highlight, actually, watching that little Sharpie go to work there. Flowers for sure, says Elvia. Susan, I was so intimidated with soldering, so it really helped a lot. Metalworking, working with bales, patchwork beads, Abby. Finally off work, and I can't wait to watch what I missed, says Wendy. Crocheting, the Thailand seed bead flowers. So that's, man, a lot. Cynthia's paper dolls. Oh, she says she really wants one of those. So anyway, I don't know who all can read the comments. I've just got it double open, so I don't know if the rest of you can read anything like that. But and Tammy just says, everything you all do is a total blessing to us all. I always learn something new, which I think that's bringing us up to date.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Good question, Kristen. I like that.
Thanks. I thought it was a nice one to kick us off, and I was getting nervous that I was going to be the only one here, and I was going to have to figure something out.
Right.
But luckily, I'm not. My friends came.
Yeah. And may I comment that all of you have such lovely backgrounds. That's on my list of things to do, because my background leaves something to be desired, but I'm looking at your butterflies, grand piano, more butterflies. Very excited about it.
Thank you.
I got a new bookshelf. This is new. It's not really new. It was in a different part of the room, but it's new to be behind me.
Yeah.
And it feels a little bit like there's a lot going on, but
I'm full.
I'm excited that I can access all of this, because I used to have to walk around my table to the other side of the room. And it was so silly, actually. Once I moved it over here, I was like, why wasn't it always over here?
Well, that would be a great course. The feng shui of your creative space would be an interesting course, wouldn't it? Yeah, because we just do things by accident because that's where it's got set down. And then somehow now it's there. And then when you logically think it through, it's like, why is that there?
Right.
So it is neat. I know everybody's always so excited to see people's studios and what is in their world and how do they navigate around it. That's always fascinating.
Do you ever watch The Home Edit, or did you see that show, The Home Edit?
I didn't know.
It's a organizing show. I think it's on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
Go in and organize.
Oh, that's clever.
I'm not good at organizing. This is
I think typically that is high on the list of most artists, thing. I mean, some do, but generally not. I think we live in that little world where we're very chaos adjacent. That's where all the ideas are.
As far as, and it was, and I don't know why I didn't think of this, but they had a thing that they were like, get it touch adjacent. If you use it all the time, have that station where you have all of your hammering stuff. If you're going to hammer all of your things, so you're not going to get up and like, I was like, what? That's so crazy. Because that's where
I falter. Because I love to organize, and I actually put stuff away and organize all the time, but it's almost like then I don't know where things are. Like I forget about them.
Yeah.
It's like all just packed away because I can't create in a messy space. Like my table is covered right now because I had a busy weekend, and I can't wait till this all goes away.
Wow. It's sort of that constant, like making a mess, clearing the mess, making a mess,
right,
clearing
making
a
mess, clearing a mess, exactly. But the problem with the organizing is like organizing in a way that makes sense, so that all the things that you need are together and close, so that when you go like, I want to do this, it's like all right there, instead of being like, oh, the scissors are in the room next door and the ruler is downstairs and the like everything's all different places.
Well, I get what they're trying to say. Like a lot of times, and I do this, where I have a thing of scissors, right? Like a box of scissors or a container full of brushes. And there's a bunch of brushes, and then all these things are in a certain spot. And I was like, I have to get up, go get the pair of scissors.
Go get the one underneath the other thing. If it's under something, then I just don't use it. So dumb.
But then I got to go put it back so that it's tidy. You know what I mean? Instead of having a kit, and this blew my doors off as far as like, you think about it, it's like so obvious, like why not just make a thing that says all your sculpting things or all your beading that's in this container or containers, and have it where you use it the most, so then you don't have to go on piecemeal run and get everything. Although that kind of sounds like, you have a ton of tools.
Well, that's okay if that makes it easier to do, because you do so many different media that see, look, Kristen's got it. But you got to have the painting stuff is different from your sculpting stuff, which is different from your resin and wax.
All of these little photo boxes I have categorized. So this is my silver silk box, and it has all of the findings that I need and all of the silver silk and all the different chains. So I'm like, I actually had to pull it out today. That's why it made me think of it, because I went, I have to do something with silver silk, and it's all right here.
And there it is in the silver silk box. By the way, I'm going to keep intruding with people's comments. One of the people are asking what island you're on, Kristen. So I mentioned that to you.
Yeah. I'm on a desert island now.
Yes. Her island days are...
My island days were numbered. But we weren't sure. My husband and I went to Maui, and we lived there for a glorious 6 months. It was a very exciting time. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know how long we would be there. And, lo and behold, we were there not as long as we would have liked to be. But hey, I can't.
It was bumming me out because we had just started getting in the rhythm of like going to do stuff together. Dang.
So I was on Maui. I got to see Christy quite a few times and hang out with my pal, and that was lovely. And we definitely thought we had more time together, and we didn't.
Oh, well, that just means I'll have to come and see you when I'm in that direction. There's a lot of comments going on, and I want just everybody who's commenting to know that we're going to read as best we can. And I'm kind of scrolling through to see if there was anything that anybody commented on that I especially wanted to interrupt everybody about. But one of the people had said earlier that one of the things they really loved about this weekend is in the comment section as other people chimed in. So the presenter would be doing something and saying, somebody would ask a question, but the presenter's busy doing stuff, and other people were filling in the gaps. I know that happened on one of mine, and I love that. And they said they love that too. So I think that sense of community was a biggie for everybody this weekend.
Yeah, that's always super lovely. I'm gonna have Cynthia answer this question. Debbie is asking, she wants one of Cynthia's paper dolls. Do you sell them, Cynthia?
I do. If you go to my website, greengirlstudios.com, there's a tab that says downloadable content. So you can print them out yourself on your printer, or you could take it down to your local print shop and have as many as you want made on different kinds of paper. It was brought up to me, can you have them done on watercolor paper? If you want to go in and tweak them with acrylics or whatever, you can do that. So that's a lot of fun possibilities. I suggest making a little stack. So if you have to entertain and say you have some people over and it's getting to be kind of awkward where everybody's just on kind of standing around with their teeth in their mouth, you can say, hey, guess what? We can do this for a minute until we think of something else. And I've done it myself because I happen to be working on them for a show. Because sometimes I sell them, in these boxes at crafts markets. Like I put them in these shadow boxes.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And
so
then
cute.
people
I'm gonna highlight you. So
oh man, I love that idea. Cynthia, you're just so smart.
Thank you.
You just really are so creative. Dang, that is so awesome.
So yes, they're on my website and you can choose them and you can download them and color them, and they come out they're in full color and they're very highly detailed scans of my paintings. So
yeah, I have several that I collected years ago in Tucson and just love them. So great. I love them.
I love that you usually do have them at your booth, because I picked it up at Tucson also, I think, when I was there. And I gifted one to a friend who had a lot of fun putting it together in her own little shadow box. So they're just so lovely.
Yeah, thank you. I was telling someone the other day, they're like, why don't you ship them anymore? And I'm like, because shipping is not as reliable as it used to be. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like there's something, I don't know if it's the world now with the mail or what, but it just seems like, especially international, same things just
international something shifted. Yeah.
So this is a good solution, because then it's, you can just print as many as you want, and then people can put them in gifts or whatever. It's a lot of I think of it like coloring, because it's kind of a meditative thing to do, where your brain just goes smooth. You're just cutting things out, poking holes. It's like
awesome.
Very little to ask of someone. You know what I mean?
It's very flow.
But very rewarding to finish, and it reminds me of like paper dolls when we were a kid.
So,
I feel like I only ran into paper doll making because I was bored out of my mind at my grandma's house. There was like nothing else to do. Literally nothing else. Not even a board game. And we just made them from catalogs that were sitting around. We cut them up.
Yeah.
And made our own. And that, I mean, when we were like, listen, y'all, we had to make. They were like, what'd you do? There was no MTV. Not even a minute.
We had to make our own dolls out of paper.
We had to. I said, Grandma, we're so bored. She's like, play with your toes. I'm like, I already did that. It's not that fun anymore.
Thanks, Grandma.
So even from a place of desperation, something good came from it, And now as a 50-year-old woman, I'm still cutting these things out.
You're still making paper dolls. Thanks, Grandma.
You just don't know where life is going to bring you, man. You just don't know.
So
that would be interesting to think about as a creative. How many things can you remember from your childhood that have a direct connection to something you're doing now as a creative entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's a lot, actually. Yeah.
Does it all come from our childhood or what?
It does,
it must. I mean, when you're a kid, you just have so much unencumbered creativity until somebody squashes it, if that happens, which it does for many people. But you just you don't really put a lot of restrictions on yourself when you're little. And if you can keep that thread all the way into your later life, then you got something. If it doesn't get,
and you're gonna, when you're young, you really in that way, you really follow what you're interested in, what your loves are, and then somewhere along the way, you get confused and you don't know, and you lose your path. But when I feel like when you're little, it's like, you have to come up with those ideas, and you're gonna follow what's the most interesting for you. And so it's like, I feel like I'm always trying to figure that back out again as an adult.
Yeah.
Like, what am I being delighted by and interested by now? And how can I follow that more?
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of inspiration, Katney is saying, who do you all look to for inspiration?
Oh man. Well, I've been chatting a lot, so I should shut up and let somebody else. You're what?
I said, my childhood is one of it for sure. I feel like it comes right back around to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
nature, like going, what's
Yeah. Just today, I saw a salamander on my walk on the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Nice.
I saw him peeking his head out. I didn't try to grab it or anything, but I did think about it.
Yeah.
To make another. I know y'all are probably tired of salamanders and frogs and stuff, but I was like, I'm gonna go home and carve another one. Y'all are
That's a
not.
biggie, right? Nature. I mean, man, probably all of us. Nature, 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 nature. Like so much inspiration there. Do you guys have any favorite like artists or time frames of artistic expression or cultures or whatever that you are especially enamored of? I mean, I got about 7,000, but what about you guys?
Well, you know what? This is gonna sound goofy, but I tune into y'all, and then when you guys are going live, I'll learn something that you think the thing is you think you know and you've seen every different way to make something, and then here comes Abby putting ball chain through links, and you're like,
What?
how did she know to do this? How did she know to do this? Where did this come from? Because it's so obvious.
That makes me feel good
It
about
doesn't
myself.
look like ball chain, right? You're like, this does not look like what I know it to be. Like she's saying, and I was like, that looks beaded from a distance, and even up close. Imagine from what she was showing it on her arm, I was like, God,
that's awesome. Yeah.
You know, so many times when I go on, I see something that Christy's doing with that epoxy clay. I forget that stuff even exists, and then I'm like, oh my God, so smart. Like today when you were talking about using artisan broken beads, I got a bucket full of beads from when I did glass bead making, and I'm
They're so great.
too much of a collector to throw them away. I'm like,
right?
One day think of something for these. And
God.
She said that, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, well, I mean, as artists, we see the potential of everything, right? So it's so hard to let anything go. But I always feel like this is my analogy. If you're a chef, nobody's going to come into a chef's kitchen and go, saffron, do you really need that? Because everybody knows that someday you need saffron, so you should have it. But artists, like, don't you think you have enough of those? We get that all the time. It's like, no, I need all of the spices in the whole world. And then eventually you go, I know what to do with those broken beads. I'll make a salamander with beads all on, whatever. But yeah.
That's a true story.
Yeah.
What about you, Abby? Do you want to answer anything about that? Like your inspiration, where you think?
So here's what I do, and it's a little out there, but I look at like really expensive home, like interior design that I could never in a million years afford, and I look at all the textures. And I look at the color palettes and the mixtures of like the textiles versus metallics. And I try to get inspired by that. And then I'm like, okay, that like kind of bronzish looking matte finish looks like those beads that I have. And then there was this texture. So that's
cool.
Where a lot of my ideas come from. Other than just like looking through the Sundance catalog.
Yeah. Plus, then that justifies the tax write-off of all the magazines you have to keep, right? Exactly. Yeah. Wow, that's a cool one.
Does anybody do that? Does anybody have old like stringing magazines and beading magazines? I love to look at them. And
I have a couple, but they're dwindling because every time I clean out my magazine stash, it gets a little less.
Oh no!
There's so many ideas out there, aren't there?
4 comic book boxes full.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I'll pull out one from like, oh man, I have some from like the way early days when you're like, people made this stuff. It's so complicated, like. I don't think people do that much anymore. Like, seed beaded, and then there's like, and it's like a whole
those big collars that were all the
big. Remember those? Yeah. Made these epic beaded things. That's kind of It was like that one time Cher showed up to the Bead and Button show, but she was incognito. She had like that great big hat on. And people were like, they were like, don't, because no one knows it's her, but we all knew it was her.
Yeah.
Scott knew it was her.
Yeah, he knew. Yeah, for sure. But it was like the days of those big necklaces. Now it's like, well, we could do a kind of a pared down version. But
wearable.
Those were the days, man. That's when I came into it.
Wear 16 pounds of crystals.
Yeah. Weren't they amazing though when that was a thing you could do and you go to a show where everybody did and it was just like these ornamental breastplates all over the place? That was a pretty amazing time to live in, right?
So
be alive, right?
I want to tell you guys, we still have a lot of customers that come into our shop because we've got a big selection of seed beads. We still have a lot of people that make those giant masterpieces.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Because those are so interesting.
I mean, maybe because there wasn't a great big show that there was a competition where it was like everybody could vote. Remember that? You could. It was So I guess
that's a good point. Yeah, not being at shows as often and seeing people wearing them and seeing the, having the competitions or the juried exhibits and stuff of them. I feel like the last show I was at, maybe it was Bead Fest, had an exhibit of that kind of stuff and some artwork and stuff too that was all beaded. And like that was really cool to see. You don't have that many opportunities to see that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was, I mean, you could tell people all year long they were making their thing because they needed one for every day of the show because it was just a love fest of that. So that was cool. I remember that.
Do you guys remember that giant one that had like the ammonites all over it? It was at Bead and Button for like years.
Yeah.
Anybody remember that?
It must have taken
I remember that.
a week's worth of like solid beading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pretty amazing.
So Mary is wondering, do we organize by color?
Yes. Oh, yes.
To put into that.
I'm getting there. I'm not going to say, I don't organize everything by color, but I'm getting there. Sometimes it's just by like style or like I have just pendants in one place, like, the actual types of things. And then because Softflex does so many kits, like I do have things that I just keep in the kits and they're organized that way. But lately I've been going through the kits when I feel like I don't necessarily need them to all stay together anymore. And I'm starting to move them into color families. So I'm slowly, but I feel like the majority of you probably do. I've heard that a lot, that you organize by color.
I do sections like that too. So like all the gemstones are with gemstones, but within that they're organized by color. So like it still makes sense to my brain. If I know I'm looking for a gemstone, I'll go to the gemstones and then within that
then colors. Yeah.
Color. Yeah.
I would think it matters too, the way you create what you do. Like for me, doing mostly these mosaic things, I'm always looking for color and I don't care about what it is. But if you're doing beaded necklaces, or jewelry or whatever, I need the number so-and-so beads. I need to find my vial of that. I don't just need a bucket full of random garbage beads. So but man, that's all I've got is I got buckets of color everywhere. It's just so much fun. I love that part.
I know. I've never seen like Abby's got in her shop how it's all organized by color on the wall, and then,
that's pretty cool.
That is super cool. And people have like mason jars full of beads and colors behind them. That's always really fun to look at. Just a lot of eye candy. Yeah.
What about you, Cynthia? What do you do?
Well, I have my things are organized by color and stone, and then I have some that I travel with. And that is like a free-for-all, and so that's just color, and that could be anything. And it's this tea container that has sections, and it'll be like black, or dark gray, white or clear, and then red, yellow, and what's the other thing? Blue. So you can't, and then it's like variations in that. So it's like a paint palette with my watercolor box. And if I had to go somewhere, I could take that whole thing. It's just one tray, but it's packed, and that thing weighs like 15 pounds. It's heavy.
Wow. Yeah.
And,
I love that. I think that's the second time you mentioned a little travel kit, Cynthia. So it seems like you like to create those little spaces where you can just grab something and go.
Well, it's fun to be able to bead with your friends or craft with your friends. And, I found many times when there's downtime, you don't want to be sitting there like looking at your phone and, and I don't want to just stare into the distance. Maybe
play with your toes. Play with your toes.
It's like, I don't know, maybe it's like an ADH thing. But I don't like to just sit there, and like people say, you want to hang out? And then I'm like, listen, if we're going to, no, I don't. If we're going to sit there,
you can talk at me while I do something. How about that?
If I can bring my creative crafts with me, then sure.
Exactly. So like even at, like Greg, he likes to play music at these open mics, and he wants me to go. And I tell you, I don't want to go because one, is it guaranteed that I'm going to have a place to sit? That makes me sound like kind of like I'm lazy, but I do not want to go somewhere and just be standing around watching people. And people do, it's everybody's different. So if you want to go stand around and watch somebody, that's fine. That's your decision. But I want to have something where I have my 2 to 3 beverages next to me, so I need a table too in this scenario.
Yeah.
And light.
It's got to be tough
light.
too.
Yes.
I have gone places where I got all of it, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm knitting. Don't ask questions." Or or you can ask me questions, and we can talk about patterns together. That's fun.
The knitting conversation only.
Yeah, crafting. If you're gonna come at me with something like, I don't know, something boring, then I don't want to talk about it. I'll change that conversation right back around to like salamanders or something. So
right.
It's either going to be like we're going to talk about crafting or something else. That's.
I get you. Yep.
So
I think
Holly wants to know how important it is to have a signature style because she doesn't feel like she has one.
I
have an opinion on that. What's that?
She probably does and just doesn't realize it. I think what I'm trying to do, and you just, you're like, it's, I mean, I just wear t-shirts and then I'll put on, necklaces and makeup.
Now, do you mean signature style by looks, Holly, or by what you create, or both? Probably both. But like for signature style as a creative, I think, like you just said, everybody has one. It just may not have fully emerged yet. And I can remember telling people when I did classes, and you guys probably are the same, is that sometimes people would be like, "Oh man, I don't know what I'm supposed to do yet. I feel like I haven't blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Okay, stop. How long have you done polymer clay or whatever I was teaching?" And they're like, "Well, 10 years." I said, "No, you've had polymer clay in your world for 10 years. If you backed it up hour to hour, how many hours of polymer clay have you done within that 10 years? Maybe a week." So it takes time. If you're not doing something creative every day or every other day, then that's just going to take longer for your style to emerge. So don't sweat it, man. If you're having fun and you're making, who the hell cares about anything else? And eventually you will discover a thing that you do more often. Can I tell you one more story? I'm going to anyway. So I was so excited when I first went to Tucson, the first time I went to Tucson. And by then I had, been in a couple of magazines and done some shows. And this was during the era of the giant necklaces. So I remember my booth closed early and I had a few hours to go to another show that stayed late. So I wore one of my necklaces and I went to the other show, and someone stopped me and they looked at my necklace and said, "Is that a Christy Friesen?" And I went, "It is. So am I." It was like so great that first time you're recognized, that you have a style that someone else has recognized, but it takes a long time to get there. Often, not always. Some people just hit the ground running and they've got it, but don't even worry about it. If you do, you do. If you don't, you'll get there if it's important to you. That's my 2 cents worth. But you guys may have a different opinion.
I was going to say, I think you hit it too. Like a lot of times, I know for me, when it comes to my artwork, there was a really long time where I worried, like, I don't feel like I have a style. I'm jumping all over the place, but other people saw it. Other people saw it before I saw it, like they were like, people would go, "Oh, that looks like something you would paint." Or if I, a couple of things, I'd be like, "Oh, I don't feel like," I always know when something is done by you because of like the colors you use or the way, you express whatever. So I was like, so it took a while of people telling me that they saw it first before I finally embraced that, maybe I do have something that is a little more signature to me. I just didn't see it because I'm so close to it.
Yeah.
And I like to jump around and do a lot of different things. So I felt like there wasn't the connection, but the connection might be a thinner thread than you're thinking, right? Like maybe the connection is your color palette, or maybe the connection is the type.
It's got daisies. It must be Christmas or whatever. Yeah.
Maybe it's the type of materials or something like that. Like maybe the thread of the connection is thin, so you don't really notice it. And if you're just doing any of this for a hobby, then who cares, right? Like just have fun, and just do what you love. I think doing what you love eventually will show up as a style in the long run, because you're going to be drawn to certain things.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Attention towards it. And so whatever you're putting your attention towards, that's what's going to keep, if you're focusing on beads and you're passionate about them, then that's what's going to be put forth into the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can always tell when you're painting. I follow a lot of painters, Kristen. And when I see yours, I know it right away.
Yeah.
Even though
you have a happy energy in your painting.
So many paintings and painters. Yeah. I mean, I know when it's yours, so I could for sure say, like, if we were to play a game the other night, I went to a thing it was called Sketchbook Club. It was probably Tuesday night or something. And they had this projector there on the screen, and they had these things. They're like, is it human or is it AI? And that was the game. So people would put 2 slides up, and you'd be like, is it AI or human? Which one's which? And it was kind of, I feel like I got a lot of them because there's there's an essence of humanity. It's getting harder and harder to spot because each iteration of the AI, when it's being fed all these keywords, is getting a little bit better each time. But at this point, I feel like humans have something that, we are all influenced by each other, by our environment, by, colors we see each day, by what we listen to. And I feel like that kind of is distilled down in that would make us have our style. And so what you surround yourself with and what you put your focus and your attention on is kind of like how that will be developed. Because I worried about that as a young artist. I was always like, man, how am I going to make a mark when there's so many millions of artists out there? What will make me different? And I worried about that. Like, is it going to be like, what am I saying with my art? And it finally occurred to me that me being me and having my experience was pretty much all I needed.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
automatically gives you a different point of view from every single other person. So even even when you see somebody that's trying to imitate, I feel like it's still, inadvertently, it can still come out as your own. But it's better when you come from a place from your own experiences.
And I think your art always has a different feel when you're doing it for the joy of it versus doing it for commercial reasons. All of us as entrepreneurial artists have some obligation to make a living at what we do, but I think all of us are trying to keep the joy always in there, and you can always tell that somebody is having fun with what they're doing. That always shines through. So even if you don't have yet a style or a look, if you're enjoying it, that is going to show through really a lot. So I think that's important, just to have fun with it.
Yep.
True.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got another question from Mary that says, did you always know you wanted an artistic career?
No.
3 yeses and a no.
That's surprising coming from you, Cynthia.
I grew up in a military family, right? So my dad was in the military. All my uncles and my aunt, they were all military. And I thought, maybe I'll go and this is going to be hilarious to you. I wanted to be either a cop. So I was 16. I wanted to be I was going to be a detective, right?
Interesting.
An FBI profiler in high school. And then I was like, nope, not for me. Because this guy
you are good with details. You're very good with details.
Huh?
I said you're good with details. So I can see
I do love watching I'm sensitive, so I don't want to watch really graphic crime. So Azalea and I, we watch a lot of Midsummer Murders. So that the kernel of that has not gone away. I do love
that problem solving, which is at the heart of being an artistic person. It's that problem. That's the whole thing of a detective, in the sense of the ideal version of it is you're trying to solve the thing, right? Just like we do with art. How do I make this thing look like this or whatever? So it's kind of the same skill set, but I could see you as a detective, but I'm glad you're an artist because you would have been wasted out there as a detective.
Yeah, I don't I don't believe in being wistful about should I have done this or should I have done that? I'm not that was past. Now is all you really have. So I'm not gonna worry about all that. So to me, it's just exactly what you were saying, Christy. It's skill sets. So now you're that love of a mystery. It's how am I going to survive next year? That kind of we got to solve that problem. How are we going to make money? So that's
right.
that's my new mystery.
That's the biggest mystery.
That would be an interesting Netflix series. We'll have Cynthia, artistic survivor, and just follow you with all of the machinations you do to stay alive and be creative. I'd watch that show.
I would too.
What are we gonna do? Like, how is this gonna be? So, I mean, I guess that's like if you're an artist in this day and age, which is like, I feel like one of the easiest times ever, because you could just get your work out there and it can blow up on Instagram, and then you're like, you're Instagram famous the next day. And so it's interesting and fun, but at the same time, it's a little bit like, I don't know, it feels like, even with everything going on in the world, I still love what I do, and I still love that our community, even though it's kind of stressful, is still
Right.
There's a lot of positivity, and not in the way that we just sit there and you're like, we're always just smiling for no good reason, but that we actually support each other. And I feel like a lot of the people that I've met on this group are very supportive.
Yeah.
And, like, it's a very giving environment, I feel like.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, I had this, can I interrupt? I'm so sorry. I'm being interrupted today because I had a lot of coffee, so please forgive me. One of the things I was thinking about today, and I thought I wanted to tell everybody and I forgot, but now I remembered, is as all of you guys that are listening to us and commenting, which you guys are a hoot, by the way, over there, don't look at it as though you're buying stuff from us. You are supporting your artists. Like back in the day, there were patrons who would like support the artist, whatever. This is democracy at work. You now get to support all of us lovely artists by buying the things that we do, and helping keep us from a life of crime, which is ever present possibility. So I just wanted to throw that out there as you were saying that just popped in my brain. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, what we view and what we support, that's, you're going to, if we get, like, if it's successful, which it has been, which I am very full of gratitude. Azalea and I were like, wow, we did so good today. And so we were just filled with elation and joy, because, that's not a given. It's not like a paycheck. For a small business, you have to work all the time and be always on the lookout for new ways to, use the things that you have. How can I come up with something interesting next week for the next live? Are they going to be bored watching this? You got to kind of be on the ball all the time. And I like it. I think it's pretty fun. It's not, no day is ever exactly.
It ain't boring. That's for sure. It ain't boring.
It's definitely not boring. That's for sure.
I would have really been happy doing a day-to-day, every day, the same thing. Probably not, so it's
well, we're all glad that you became an artist and not a detective, Cynthia.
Yeah. Thank you.
So far, you just never know.
So far. I mean, you can always change your mind.
Abby, you said that you thought to be an artist at a pretty young age as an entrepreneur. Do you have a story about that? Because I'm curious, because you're still just a youngster. When did you start? Like 10 minutes ago, probably in your teens.
No, well, so my dad did the fire hoop at powwows, and so they would always like bead their moccasins and things. And so he always had beads laying around, and I guess that's where the beads laying around came from, that I was really into. And so from like, I honestly, it could be from like a button stash from my grandparents. I don't know where the beads came from. Yeah. In my mind, it was from my dad's.
Yeah.
Stash, that all of his stuff was there. But anyway, I just was always into beads from like birth on.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you guys, I think a lot of you have heard me tell the story before where I was, I think 8 and on vacation, and I saw a lady with one of those fabulously beaded collar, because that back then you'd wear those out.
Yeah, out in public and everything.
I begged my mom to ask her where she got it, and she was like, I made it. And we were blown away. And the lady was kind enough to meet us at the local bead shop the next day and show us the ropes.
Wow.
And then the stars were in my eyes, and the rest is history, because it's been beads ever since.
That's so cool. Oh, I love that. That is so cool.
Thanks.
You have some of those pieces from your early work?
I think My mom probably does. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Now
Maybe.
I'm imagining those two beads, that like stacked up. I don't know what those necklaces are called, but that's what I'm imagining. When
ones
you're
that go
Oh,
down.
like the herringbone pieces, like my dad's stuff, or like
kind of like bones that are stacked. I don't know what the name of it is called, where they're stacked, and then there's 3 or 4 beads, and then there's another one that go around the neck.
Those
like
are cool.
hair pipe bone collars.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he had like little seed bead medallion and stuff, like the little circular things.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I think it was just like the little seed
Bead
bead.
embroidery type bead on the
Yeah.
down. Yeah. That's cool.
But my first necklace that I ever made was a like giant Swarovski crystal, and then like huge Bally bead caps, and then cubes and big Bally tubes, because we didn't know that beads were expensive back then. And so it's like at the end of the class, like it's like $100 for the bill. Oops. Well, she made it. So I guess we'll pay for it.
Wow.
So
I like these. You had expensive taste right from the beginning.
Yeah, there you go. No wonder you had to get a bead
experience.
store, man. That makes sense now.
We
Yeah.
always try to like be very like transparent and open in our store how much stuff costs, and we always like, do you want me to check where you're at so far, let you know, because they add up quick.
Yeah, they do.
And if you're new, it can be a little bit overwhelming to
and when you're looking at them per piece, sometimes you don't realize how much all of that is adding up.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
They'll sell it by the piece, and so then you do have to do that kind of mental math, or get your calculator out.
Yeah. Kristen, do you have a story of young Kristen, the artist entrepreneur?
Yes, I would say I was just like into all sorts of creative things. Like I didn't know what it was going to be. I just always knew creativity would be a part of it. I mean, my first love as a kid was dance, and I would get everyone together and I was like, I'm going to be the choreographer and we're going to perform this for our parents. And, you can't say no, like you just have to do it.
It's either that or go make paper dolls with Cynthia. One or the other. You're gonna dance or
you don't know the moves.
play with your toes.
We're gonna work at it, and you're gonna get to know those moves by the end of the day. And then so I would, dance was definitely the first thing, and then I would get the kids together in the neighborhood, and I had a creative club, and we would do comedy skits, and we would do like play skits, and all of that kind of stuff. And so I was very much like, every time I got people together, there was a creative bent to it.
That's great.
And then whenever I was by myself, I was always creative. Like that was how I connected with people, but that was also how I connected in my solitude. I would always draw or paint or color or build things. Play-Doh was huge for me as a kid. I was like so in love with Play-Doh. It was all over the carpet at one of the houses. Like it was just always stuck to everything. So yeah, I think a lot of times a teacher was something that was kind of always there. And then as I got older, I moved away from that and was just like, I just want to be an artist. And what does that look like? And then lo and behold, I feel like I came back around to the teaching thing later on. And now I teach workshops and I teach with Softlex, and it's one of my biggest joys is sharing that. So it's funny how, just as we were saying, that stuff from when you were a kid kind of peeks back around and then shows up later.
And I think it's so interesting too, like what you're saying makes me think of something that's been on my mind a lot, of just the way life evolves. And I think sometimes we get focused on or fretful about where we're going instead of just going, it doesn't matter really. I mean, have some clue if you're going to go over the edge of a cliff, but otherwise it's like, just be in the moment of your journey and just be surprised at where you end up. And that's okay. Because all of us, I think, if we laid out where we were and where we got to, people knowing us now would look back and go, okay, I see how that could have happened. But I'll bet every one of us had this weird circuitous route and odd little cul-de-sacs and around, to take us to where we are and where we're going. So I love that about being an artist. It's so much flow and it's so much journey. And don't try to worry too much about what this is going to turn out to be, whether it be your project or your life. Just enjoy the beads, enjoy the putting it together, enjoy the paint, you know, and just then be surprised, because that's kind of a gift too, isn't it? Like, oh, I made this. Oh, that's pretty cool. I like that. So
how, and you obviously thought you said you always felt like you would do artistic something or other, Christine.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. First since forever. Yeah. Yeah, that was just always that same, you know, nothing new or different from anybody else there. Just same interesting circuitous route of people see what you make and they're like, is that for sale? And like, well, certainly it could be, you know. And it is interesting because I think sometimes, especially in America, since that's what I'm familiar with, so I don't know how it works in other cultures, but there always seems to be this connection that's made between what you create and what would you sell it for? How much is it worth? You know, that kind of thing. There's always this end result of its value monetarily, which is a little bit problematic, I think, in a couple of different ways. But, you know, for some of us who have embraced that as our lifestyle, that's great. But for anybody else, please don't feel like you have to sell your stuff to be valid. That is just one of a million things to do with your creativity, and selling it is not the goal. You know, if you like that and it works out for you, great. But if you don't, that's fine. Don't even worry about it. So anyway, random thoughts from me today.
I think that that's such a important thing to remember, because we live in such a, like, I mean, I know I felt it most of my life, like, but why are you doing that? But why do you make that? But why do you spend your time doing that? You know, like, and if they're like, if you're not doing something with it, why? And the why is in the process. It's in the journey. It's in the connection with people, and it's in the connection with your own creative soul. So that, coming back to that, is so important. And everybody else, like, they don't always get it. Like, they just don't.
Yeah. I mean, it is such a great thing for us to, I think that's sort of what a lot of people take away from whenever you have a weekend of stuff with all of us, is that they see everybody's different paths, some brick and mortar, some all on the internet, other people do live stuff. I mean, these are like showcasing different ways that your artistic persona can be a business. But I think beyond that, just knowing that you could make a thing is what everybody is taking away, that each of us are excited about the making of the thing. And that's enough sometimes. And often I have noticed, and you guys will probably back me up on the same observation, is that many women, since we predominantly have a women's group here, although we love the men that are part of our group here too, that a lot of times the women have a partner that is not as artistic as them, or so often an artistic kind of gal marries an engineer guy. And they're just different ways of looking at the world. And so sometimes you can have that bombardment as a creator of like, what's that supposed to be? What is it? You know, how much money did it take to make that? Are you going to sell it? Some of these practical questions that are important to the people asking, there's nothing wrong with those questions, but it also can make us feel like we have to constantly justify the fact that we spent $100 on a wonderful bead as a child or whatever, a beaded necklace. And just like, try not to worry about that too much. Just make it, show it to your peeps, which was coming back to that bead and button show. Everybody was wearing their thing. Here are your people who that immediately get it. They're not going to have any of those questions. They're just going to want to touch your chest in a good way and have fun with it. So, you know, I love that we can do that online now too. It's the same kind of thing.
For sure. Yeah. I love that. This is an interesting question from Rosemary. She says, I have a hard time finding a good company name. How did you decide on your company name?
Oof.
My mom did a market study.
Your mom did a market study? I love that answer.
Oh my God. Was the number one pick. The most boring name of them all, but it's what won out.
Oh, that's cool.
That makes so much sense for why you're so thoughtful about things.
Yeah, apple doesn't fall too far from the tree on that one.
How did you come up with your name, Cynthia, for your studios?
I
mean, because you're a green girl. I mean, this makes perfect sense to me. But you had to like go through other things to settle on that one, probably, right?
Well, I did. I didn't really have. I came up with a bunch of names early on, and it took me a minute. I started this when I was in college, and I kept drawing the same like mermaid character, and it was
Right.
kind of an ongoing story in my mind. My brother had disappeared when I was 16, and that kind of left a mark on me where I was like, like this idea of things being lost and found were really
Yeah.
important. And
Yeah.
so the idea of the Green Girl Studios was this gal that lived on the beach of all things lost and found things and returned them to the person that was missing it.
Huh.
So that was the origination of the idea. But
Wow.
it's not like the way that you tell it is kind of because
That's cool.
you know what
That's
I mean?
very cool. Yeah.
A little bit of pain. So it's not like I don't love telling the story of it just because it's kind
Yeah.
of like that. I remember myself being like a teenager and like having this, it's
Yeah.
basically wish fulfillment. Like that kind of a fantasy of what you wish would happen. So that
Yeah. Okay.
it's not as it's like I don't know.
Yeah. I'll take back my cool and just substitute interesting because you're right. There's a lot of emotion connected with that.
Yeah.
That's intriguing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That, you know what? Can I again blabber on and on? It's so fun to see everybody's different thing because, like, Kristen and I both use our names predominantly, and Abby did a research because you are a brick and mortar store. You're appealing to a different kind of end user, and Cynthia something very much of the heart. And I think to me that's the encapsulation of the answer: is what are you trying to do with your name? And figure out, do some research, like, what kind of people are you hoping to attract? What kind of name would be most attractive? And then, of course, make it personal. And nowadays, with everything being online and stuff, I think your name is always a good one because people are going to look you up by your name. But if you prefer to hide a little bit behind an identity, which is absolutely wonderful to do, hide is maybe the wrong word, but have like a gate before people come in, then find something that resonates that's going to last for a long time. Because if you're like, beeper queen, or whatever, pager queen, something, maybe that's a little dated, so think of something that's a bit, more whatever. But, it'll come to you, but in the meantime, placeholder, just use your name and you may find that that's all you ever need. But yeah, I love it. Like Green Girl, whenever, go ahead.
You could try a few things on, right? Like I didn't first use my name because at first I was like, well, I do graphic design work, I do artwork, I do jewelry. Right. I couldn't quite, that was at a time where I wasn't quite sure. So I did have a name for a little while called Creative Stash. That just meant like whatever the heck I wanted it to mean at the time. But then over time, I got to the point where I said, you know what, maybe I'm just my name because it does go into all these different directions. So you can always try something on for a little while and see.
Make sure you type it out because originally I was going to go with CF Art. Now imagine typing that out, and I thought maybe not that. So please do that because sometimes things don't look what you think.
That's a really good point.
I know people would have remembered that, but maybe not what I was trying to go for.
It somehow kind of fits though, Kristen.
I know, right? Well, it's like somewhere along the line, there's a story behind it, but I won't tell you that. I am known to my grandsons as Cuckoo. Kuku, because it's a Hawaiian whatever. But it's like, when they were telling me like, we want to have the kids call you Kook, like, okay, I get that. So now I like that, and now they don't even call me that. It's like Lil Kooks. That's, I guess, my gangster name, or like Kookalabonza. It's like all of these versions of that, and now I don't even hear how dumb that is because it's my grandsons that are saying it. Oh yeah, names are weird. Just grab whatever you think is fun and try it on. See how it feels.
This is a fun picture from Carol. Fun question. What do you listen to music-wise to get into creating a new project? Do you listen to anything?
Yes.
Do you listen to music? Do you listen to podcasts? Both? Whatever.
I listen to podcasts all day, every day. And it's usually like...
I was thinking of you when I said that.
Hidden, it's all these like, I don't want to say self-help, But motivational speakers, I love them. You know, it's like I love to listen to Esther Perrin when she's talking to these couples in couples therapy. You're like, you can't even look away, you know? I mean, not that, you know, I don't know. It's just kind of fun.
It's just good information, I guess, right?
Yeah, I love it when they talk about longevity. I don't know why. I'm like, tell me more about how I can improve my diet, you know?
Oh.
Or I'll put on these things on, I think they call them healing vibrations. Do you guys know this?
Oh, yeah, the frequency stuff, yeah.
The frequencies.
I'm like, is this like getting into, you know, is it actually doing it? They're supposed to be like it's the frequencies.
Hitting certain brain waves or something.
Yeah, getting certain brain waves. And one of them was like, it'll help your cells regenerate, like on the spot. I'm like, what's that like? And you know, so
I did that, but I grew a whole new arm, so I had to stop it.
What's happening? You know, I don't know if it's happening, but maybe it is. So it's, you know, it's like, and then it becomes like background noise, like a vacuum cleaner that's been going for forever, you know?
Right.
Or like in my neighborhood, there's a guy across the street that has this huge pickup truck and he's always revving it, you know, and it gets on my nerves. But after a while, it's like a chainsaw. I don't even hear it anymore.
It's like there's that period of time where it's really aggravating, and then it kind of, once it goes past that, it just becomes just there, right?
Yeah, your brain just sticks it back in the background. Like, let's not think about that one anymore. Something else. Yeah. Yeah.
What
do you listen to, Abby? Yeah.
A bunch of like really obscure punk rock bands that like nobody should listen to.
I totally believe that. That is exactly what I would have guessed if I was. Yeah. Yeah.
How about you, Christy?
Same with like Cynthia. I usually have some kind of talky thing going on. A couple people mentioned like Audible, and you know, sometimes Netflix things that I can listen to without having to watch, because then I get too focused instead of this. Occasionally music, like the frequency stuff too. Sometimes, yeah. Don't have any car revvers though, but you know, that so far.
I like podcasts, but not when I'm creating. I get really aggravated when people are talking to me for too long.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, I get like, ooh, you just stop. Like all of a sudden the voice is just grating or something. I don't know. So I go back and forth between complete silence. I sometimes just like everything to, like, I forget to even think about noise. I just want it to be quiet. And then the other way is I make a ton of playlists. So like when I did my whole flower series of paintings, that's all I did was listen to music about flowers.
Nice.
Like,
cool.
So I'll just search it on Spotify. I'll put in a flower name like daisy or rose or wildflowers, and then just a whole bunch of stuff will come up, and I'll just throw it all in a playlist. And then when I listen to the playlist, I weed out things that I'm like, okay, no, that can go. I don't need to hear that one again. And then it's really kind of fun because so that whole series of paintings, I pretty much listen to the same music every time. And it would just get me in that flow for it. And I've done it for, like, I have a playlist on air, earth, water, and what's the other one? Fire. So I have a playlist for each of those energies. So usually I'm trying to like pull in a feeling like, oh, I really want to chill out, or I want to be like super active, or I want to be very flowy, or, you know, things like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I'm like a total jam band nerd. So I love jam bands and like bluegrass music. But then I also listen to like yoga music, Appalachian music, and lots of just like meditation-y stuff.
Yeah.
I'm all over the map. And then all like oldie things, the 70s, like all of that is fabulous. So I think the playlist thing is fun for me because it always brings in a very wide range of stuff. And then I can kind of figure out while I'm painting or while I'm creating, like, is this the energy, or do I, this song's got to go, or this one, I love that one. Maybe I'll, you know, heart that
very
for
cool. Yeah, that is very cool. Creative, curated playlist. Nice.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
Yeah, I like that.
You can follow them too. So if you're on Spotify, you can find me, Kristen Fagan, and you can check out all my playlists.
Oh, that's cool.
If you're interested in that at all.
Good to know it. Yeah, that is way cool. Awesome.
Let's see if we got any other fun questions here.
So many, man.
Oh, yeah. Fran is asking, do you feel us jewelry designers are artists too?
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Unbelievably so.
I think if you put food on a plate in a cool way, you're an artist. Everything is creativity, man. Everything. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Sometimes I'd see some of this jewelry people, and it can be the simplest little thing, like a bracelet or whatever, and it catches my eye. Like, what the? Yeah, it's so cool. I love that.
Let's see. I'm like really far behind.
I know there's so many. You guys are really wonderful. This is one of those that I might go through and just read them again, because normally, like when I'm blathering on and on, I'm reading everything at the same time, but there's so much here, and we really appreciate you guys. We can't answer everything, of course, but I love that you have lots of stuff to say and all kinds, like interacting with each other, and I love that. So cool.
Melanie is asking, do you have a sound bowl?
I do.
Funny story.
Gave me
a sound. Oh,
yeah.
One of the fan bowls.
Yeah,
like a singing bowl. Yeah.
I don't, but I have drums.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I have a drum too.
Yeah.
I left my singing bowl with Christy in Maui. Oh, you have one of those?
Whoa,
drums?
one of the real ones. Woo, that's nice.
I want one of those.
Yeah.
I play it all the time.
Oh, that's so cool.
And if you've heard if you listen to any of that kind of, it's like spa music on my posts.
Wow, very cool.
It has a nice sound to it, and it's really like if you practice with it, and it's tuned. It's got that. It's supposed to be like healing vibes.
That's so great. I love that. Yeah, I've got my little bowl right over there, Kristen, and I just bang on it often. It's very lovely.
I had a little one that I had purchased in Tucson a few years ago, and I love it. I brought it with me to Hawaii. But when we were trying to pack all our stuff up, it was like we just had to make some decisions. And I think it was the weekend before, we were together, Christy, and we were at a shop that had a whole bunch of the singing bowls. And she was like, oh, I've always wanted one of these. And I played it, and she's like, oh, yeah, cool. And at that time, I had no idea. But then later, I was like, well, I'm going to go drop this sucker off for my friend Christy.
Yeah, I really scored on her move because I got a lot of great stuff from her. So I feel bad for you, but also I feel great for me because I got a lot of cool stuff. So that's good. One of her paintings and some of her cards and a little journal and that singing bowl and beads. It was
I showed up at her house and I was like, keep what you want, whatever.
Yeah, I would have traded it for you to be here still if that had worked out for you, but that's okay. It was still fun. Thank you for that. Yeah, those singing bowls are neat, aren't they? They're just fun. Yeah. Yeah.
But I love that drum that Cynthia has. I definitely want to try one of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Abby? Do you have any instrumental things over there?
I mean, I have a drum set in my basement closet and a couple guitars sitting around, and then my daughter is 8 and she is really into making music on like her keyboard set. So we hear that all day long. And that is a lot. And that's what I'll say about that.
That's fabulous. Keep encouraging.
She's got a career in music ahead of her.
Deborah said she has 3 bowls with different pitches, and my cats attack them when I try to relax with them.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, cats! Why? Why?
Cats like it. They come up into the studio and they hang around.
Yeah,
there's something that they like about the sound. Well, I also don't play it aggressively. I play it very softly.
Ah, very good.
I think it appeals to their little fuzzy bodies. Like he didn't even budge when I played it. You know, he was like, "Yeah, I'm used to that sound."
Mm-hmm.
Do they sing along?
What's that?
Do they sing along?
No,
They don't howl.
Some cats do.
Play music?
Yeah,
one of my cats sings.
That's way cool. That's very cool.
So Mary is asking, what are your most memorable books you would recommend for someone in a creative slump?
Ooh, that's. Do you guys read those type of those? I do.
I do.
I love
Can
them.
I just address something real quick before we answer this question? I see a lot of questions and comments about my house and my piano. This is
I did see a couple. I was just ignoring them, but I didn't know how many there were.
This is not real. I'm in my basement right now. But I'm glad I fooled you all.
Yeah, we saw that grand piano back there and just thought, wow, play us something, Abs. Oh man, Cynthia, you were going to say something about books. I'm assuming you like any of those books on unblocking.
You know that one, right? The
Which
Artist's
one?
Way.
The Artist's Way. Yeah, that was the one.
You can't go wrong with that one.
Can't go wrong. That is the OG, and it's a book you can come back to time and time again. There are some aspects of it that maybe not my favorite, but overall, the prompts and the ideas of tapping into your creativity are really phenomenal in that book.
Yeah, there's a couple of other ones that, you know, whenever, like, certain books I like to look at, there's a bunch of them that I have. You know, I have some Japanese craft books, and I don't know if y'all ever look at them, but I have one on pom-poms. It doesn't have anything to do with anything, but I'll just be like, these are so flippin' cute. And it just gets my brain. I mean, it's not even, I'm not going to make pom-poms, but for some reason I have, and then some on toy making. I'm not, you know, I don't have time to make wooden toys. But, you know, sometimes it's fun to look at random other people's work, you know, just kind of,
oh, yeah.
Or Pinterest. Pinterest is one of my all-time favorite places to go.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll look up something really random and just see what happens.
Yep.
You know, and then sometimes you'll see an animal that you never even knew existed.
Right. Right. Like an elephant shrew. Go look it up, guys. It's very cool.
It's true. You never know what you can see.
I think you hit on something to me that is really resonating, Cynthia, and that is when you get an artist block, what you don't want to do is try to get rid of your artist block. It just makes it more block. Go do something else. Just get your brain full of other things. Like you said, go look at Japanese toys and Pinterest and just look at creativity stuff and don't even think about the elephant in the room and just do something else and fill your brain up with creativity things that other people are doing. And then pretty much that'll push out the worry that you can't do something. But that's, I love that.
If you go on a walk, especially with white pine trees, right? Mm. So there's a thing around where I live. There's a lot of white pine. And they call these mountains the Blue Ridge Mountains because of the I think it's called isopenes that are in these trees, right? And so the same compound is in oxygen tanks, which helps you absorb the oxygen more readily than if it was just straight oxygen, right? And so if you're going on a walk and you're getting all this oxygen to the brain and you're thinking about like what is like if you're in a creative slump, I find that every single time I come back, I am no longer in a creative slump. Because I've gotten my, you know, there's something about, or bring a friend with you.
Some tree drugs in your system, Yeah,
just breathing in and getting your body, you know, just sort of like you're recirculating your blood.
I absolutely agree. Yeah. We look at, don't we, of just the simple act of just going outside around plants. You know, and not everybody's got woods to go walk in. If you do, please take advantage of it. But even just if you've just got landscaping in your area, just go and touch all the freaking plants and just run your hands around them and stuff. It helps reset. It really does.
I mean, there's something to be said for it. I mean, it's like the simplest thing. And also, I used to get that seasonal affective disorder because I would hole up in my studio when it was cold because I don't like to be cold. And I would go into kind of a depression like every winter. And now I kind of force myself to go outside and walk around during the day and get that blue light from the sky, you know, have that like bouncing around in my skull, because otherwise, you know, you're kind of just repeating the same pattern and you're like, why do I feel like all slumpy and tired? Well, you know, your body.
I love that. Slumpy and tired. That's it right there. Yeah.
And for me, a lot of things that I try and do is like, what is something super simple? Like, getting outside is for sure definitely a game changer for me. I have a hammock, and that's like my favorite place to go out there and just lay there for 5 minutes, and like my whole mood, everything changes. But if I'm trying to get out of my creative slump, like, what is something like really simple that I can do? And maybe it's like just a pen and paper, doing some doodles, doing some neurographic art, or just like doodling around, or maybe if you're a jewelry designer, just like sorting your beads. I know a lot of people really love to do that. And it's like just getting in your space. And I like to organize. That is one of my ways I do when I'm feeling stuck. I'm like, okay, what can I clean up, organize, move around?
Right.
And it's like that movement of energy, and also finding things that I forgot about all starts getting the inspiration going.
Yeah.
So just like baby steps, like go back to the baby steps, like just sort beads, string things on string, even if you don't think you're going to keep it that way, just to get your fingers moving and your brain moving in that way,
Like muscle memory, get your blood up,
Yeah.
Can't help it. Start putting your hands in those beads, and then next thing you know, it's a slippery slope. You start making piles, and pretty soon, even if you didn't
Bringing them up, sticking them in things. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. But I do think too, you can't always like flip the switch on creativity, especially if you work for a living at a soul sucking job, or even one that's mildly just tiring. Because you come home and your energy, your body wants to create, but you might have just been too worn out. So sometimes we think that's a creative block, and frankly, you're just tired, and that is just the way it is sometimes. Yeah.
And
your
I don't
soul
know,
is tired.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know I have seasons. Like just like the earth has seasons, I have seasons. I know certain times of the year I'm much more energetic and inspired, and other times of the year I'm not. And I've sort of started to track that, just like you might track some other things about yourself. And so this way I know, like, hey, it's July, it's hot, it's miserable out here. Like everything is, all of my schedules are off, and this is not an inspiring time for me. So instead of beating myself up of not being able to create, or not getting into the studio, or not doing something, I remind myself, like, you just don't like creating in July. Like it's just never a good time for you. Whereas spring is one of my absolute favorite times. And I'm always super inspired in spring. And then again, like August, September, I'm super inspired. So I've learned that's
smart. Yeah.
Like, that's just my rhythm. And then this way you have to have those down times to rest, because you can't be creative all the time.
Right.
Yeah, that's a capitalistic notion that it's always going to improve. But that's not nature. Nature takes a breath for a bit and hibernates or gets ready until the seed's ready to do the next thing. So go with those natural rhythms and not this weird, corporation rhythm, because those are nonsense. We live in them, but let's try to remember that we don't really need to do that. So maybe it's not writer's block. Maybe you're just gathering strength.
Right.
Not writer's block, creative block.
Good point. Katney says traveling is a great unblocker, or even just going somewhere new. And that can be like I sometimes will be like, I'm just going to go to the plant nursery. Like Christy was saying, get around plants, or I'm going to go check out this new thrift store that I haven't been to or just forgot about, and poke around and just kind of be around things that might get your brain inspired again. Love to travel. A lot of people can relate. Oh, that's fun. Kimberly likes to play and build color palettes when she's stuck. And then also being outside motivates.
Yeah.
The beach.
Yeah.
Speaking of thrift stores and then color palettes, one trick that I do sometimes if I'm feeling a little stuck is I will walk around like our local Savers. I don't know if you guys have Savers where you're at, but it's like this massive thrift store. And they have just rows after rows after rows of all of these very interestingly patterned clothes. And I find that when things are chaotic and not like organized like they would be in like those big corporate stores,
Yeah.
I'm able to more easily figure out what I like. And so I will just kind of look for patterns or colors or textures that call to me. And then I'll remember that, or I'll take a picture of it and be like,
Right.
oh, okay, I really liked this orange and turquoise today. I don't normally like orange and turquoise. Am I feeling inspired to create with orange and turquoise? Okay, let's try that for the next project. So that's one of my tricks also, Kristen, is to go to the thrift store and just see what calls to me that day.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, and yeah, I've definitely taken a lot. And then I go through back my phone and I'm like, what the heck was I taking pictures of? And I was like, there's like this random pillow, there's a pattern, there's like, I might have liked a vignette of some kind. And it's like, and then I totally forget. I move on to the next thing. I've been inspired. And then you look back 2 months later and you're like, what is all that?
Yeah. Here's this picture on my phone.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I love that.
Well, this has been fun. Oh my gosh, we would talk for an hour and 20 minutes.
Easily. Yeah. Yep.
The best.
I feel like we could probably keep going, but you probably maybe getting like a little bit tired.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting a little worn out. We all need a little creative break, a little nap.
Nap sounds good.
Yeah. Nap is good, and we should all nap more often. I
think Christy was saying that maybe we'll have nap time next time.
Right? Like, so it'll all be Ask Me Anything. It'll be nap along with the TGBE, and we'll just all have pictures of us taking a nap. I think that would be great.
That sounds very specific.
It's very specific. But each of us will probably have different nap patterns. That would be fun.
Right.
It could be like your kind of pillow rituals situation. You know, like who has a heavy blanket?
Right. Who's a snorer? Who's a drooler? Right. There's a lot of stuff. There's neat.
Like it takes me forever to get ready to go to bed. Like I got to get all this stuff set up, you know. And then when I travel, it's a big joke in my family because I'm like, I can't go without my heavy blanket, and they pick it up, and it's like my bed stuff, and it's even the limited. You know, I've even pared it down, but that heavy blanket, I need it. It's like 25 pounds. So how
heavy is it?
This, and then like that bag. It's like when I went to Tucson, it was hard for me. I was like, what am I
gonna do? Man.
How heavy do you like it? Because I know there's all different weights.
Well, I have now for travel. I brought this little small. It's like they call it like a nap pod or something, and it's like a little mini heating pad. It's like a cat draped on your body.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
the travel weighted blanket.
Yeah, it's really small. It's like this.
See, I tell you, napping with the TGB. That's our next idea. Yep.
I mean, I think we can do it. Listen, y'all, I could actually do. I'm like, listen, you got to get your drink, your beverage ready. You got to get. I mean, we got to get the. I got to illuminate.
You can't just be going to bed willy nilly.
You think I'm playing, Christy? I'm not. It's a.
Oh, I believe you. I believe you with my core. I get you. I have 67 pillows on my bed, but no heated blanket.
Playlist.
Yep, got it all. You know.
And it's funny because I like David White. I want him to be speaking poetry into my brain while I've got lights flashing, and then maybe I can fall asleep. It's so hard. I got my heating pad on this side, heavy blanket on this side. It's got to be cold in that room. And then my mom's like, you should go to the Philippines. You're going to love it. I'm like, Mom, that ain't never going to happen because, listen.
Too hot.
You already call me Princesa. If you saw my sleeping situation, I would never. It would be like Princesa.net. There's no way. I got to have stuff.
Sarah's here, and she says your napping is intense. Yeah.
I know. That's what it was like. Oh, we could do a napping thing, and y'all are just imagining just laying down. I'm like, no.
Well, while the rest of us fall asleep, we'll be constantly watching Cynthia, right? The rest of us boring Cynthia. Now what is Cynthia doing?
Yeah, we haven't even started sleeping yet.
It would be over, and she'd finally be getting settled. I'd watch that show.
By the time y'all are already dead asleep, and I'm like, okay, now we can finally close our eyes. Y'all are getting up, and I'm like, I'm going down now.
Yeah, I do love that. Well, that seems like such a great way to end this, right? With
Christy,
our
how do you prepare? How do you prepare for sleep? I need to know.
I need to know. Well, I live in this thing where I never have to have anything other than a sheet, which is great because my temperature is even, so I don't even need any of that stuff. But I do have a lot of pillows so that you got them in all the places and stuff. But yeah, it all depends on how much coffee I've had that day and how late I stayed up to create. That makes a difference. Yeah.
True.
But yeah, I mean, we do have our rituals. I once went to go stay with a friend when I was doing all this workshopping, and she would go to sleep by keeping all the sheets still tucked in. And then she'd scoot into her little coffin-like thing and just like no movement, asleep. And I'm like, what? And I'm twirling and twirling like a dog does and ripping everything up and moving it around, making a pillow pile. And finally, she just bolted upright and said, would you please? And I'm like, oh, what? She goes, you have been 20 minutes flipping around in there. Like, oh. Like, I had no idea. So I get you, girl. I get you.
Totally see
that. Right? And then the next day she took a picture, like, guess which bed is Christy's? And hers was still all tucked in and perfect. And mine looked like some natural disaster had come. And all the people had come and rescued the dead people and then left the detritus as it was. And I was like, yep. It is what it is.
Oh my gosh.
Well, she's very fortunate to have such a simple sleeping ritual. That's very fortunate.
Right? But naps are different. Abby? If I'm tired in the middle of the day and I need to take a nap, I lay down and I'm done. Like no flip flapping. So I don't know what that is. So.
Man.
You know what? I say that phrase too, Christy. I don't know if I learned it from you, but I always say to the kids, stop flip flapping chicken snacking.
I got to add the chicken snapping because that I haven't used.
I'm like, listen, you know what I'm talking about. Lollygagging around. That's what it is.
That's another good word, lollygagging. What? That is the perfect word.
I say lollygagging a lot. Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh my gosh. We're just so amusing.
So amusing. Who knew that nap time with Tgbe would be so amusing?
I tell you, it's an untapped content. So.
I feel like that's the paid content, though. Like this is the free show.
Actually, you're right. That would cost. I feel like you're right.
Like there's a paywall.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Jeez, that is funny.
I have my water I have to bring in there. I have shea butter that has to go on my feet every night. I have a pillow. So my feet are elevated.
Right, right.
And then depending on the caffeine content or like the energy of the day, I can either just fall right to sleep or I can do like a sleep meditation, which is usually about 15 minutes. And then on a really bad day, I have to do that sleep meditation twice. Usually by the second time I get myself down. But if I've had a really, really worked up day, it's like, oh, got to play that one more time.
One more time.
And then I'm good.
Right? That's so funny.
I feel like I am all over the place with sleep. Like sometimes I go to sleep right away, and it's probably caffeine related because I am really sensitive to caffeine. If I have coffee like other than first thing or like a soda or something past like 6 p.m., then I'm not sleeping at all. But depending on if Alex is reading or not, sometimes I'll make like a little tent for myself with the blankets and I'll just like hide from the light. And sometimes I fall asleep in there and I wake up and then I realize that I don't have good oxygen.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you wake up
dying, I have to like claw out.
Claw your way out of the tunnel.
Yeah, like a cat has joined me under there, and it's like I gotta figure out which cat it is based on how the fur feels, so that I know like how careful I have to be when clawing my way out of my little tent, because some of them are ferocious cats. I sound like I have 10 cats. I have 3 cats, but 3 cats, like once you get past 2,
Right.
It
It
might as
becomes
well
a
be
zoo.
10
Yeah,
cats.
that's just it's the jungle then. Yep. And jungle
Yeah.
rules. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. See, I told you the snapping would be interesting, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
We need to have a Snapchat each week, the four of us.
Yeah.
Oh
Right?
man, everyone is laughing along with us. Laughter is the best medicine. And
Yeah.
it's a perfect way to end with the Tgbe.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us. We really appreciate that. And yeah, now everybody go to bed with all those wonderful tales of calm and relaxation. Right?
Abby needs a sleep mask. Sarah uses a sleep mask. So I was thinking of her when I said, do you have a weighted blanket? Do you have a sleep mask? But Sarah's usually hollering at her children to go to bed. It's not very relaxing.
No. I have to have my hair up like in a pineapple on top of my head because if anything is like touching, I can't sleep. I don't know how I can sleep like under the blanket tent. But like if I have left my glasses on or if I have like a sleep mask or like one of those like hair headband things, I can't do it.
Can't do it.
I love the idea of a sleep mask. Have you seen those that are just like pillows that rest on your face and they don't go all the way around?
Yeah. Yeah. Might have to try that.
Oh, yeah, I have one of those. Yeah.
They're like
the
beans and
like
the
lavender
outside.
in there, or there's rice, or
Yeah. Probably rice, not beans.
Yeah.
You come up with new wrinkles than you did.
Keep it in the freezer. So it's sometimes if you've got like puffy eyes or like a little allergenic, it's very relaxing to put it on for a little bit. But I want to get my husband one of, you have see the ones that are like a sleep thing, but they've got headphones in them.
Oh.
Because he wears headphones. He has to listen to something to go to sleep. And so he has headphones on before bed, but it's very uncomfortable to lay on your side with like headphones on. So they have like a band you can get that I think it can go over your eyes, or you could just like lift it up, but it has headphones in it.
Oh,
one
I
of
have
these
one of
days,
those.
he's got to get some of those.
So that's useful. Because then you know what? If you have if you put the headphones on and you leave those things in your ear, that's how you get ear infection and earache. Because it gets too damp.
That makes sense.
And then you get itchy ears. So that band is good because then it's like it's not in your ear.
I'm with you, Sherry. She says, I love the idea of a mask, but it freaks me out. Don't blindfold me.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, this has just been a blast. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us, having a nice, long, fun chat and lots of laughter. And I hope you enjoyed the whole weekend. I mean, I know we did, and I hope you all loved it too. And you can watch all the replays over on the Great Bead Extravaganza Facebook page. Almost everybody's over on YouTube too. And the swag bag.
After 30 days though, has that gone into effect? So they have 30 days to watch it. If you're going to watch on Facebook, they're not forever. So if you want to watch, then you have to go on
this month. Yeah.
So if you're going to watch it on Facebook, you've got a time limit, and then you can move over to YouTube for, and you can even watch some of our past ones over on YouTube as well. And the swag bag, don't forget to enter the swag bag giveaway. We're having 3 winners this time. Each winner will get $150 to go shopping with the Great Bead Extravaganza presenters. That is in the group and on the page too, I believe, pinned in both places. So go check it out and enter there. You probably have like this week. So get your entries in over there. Anything else to share before we go?
We're good, baby. Yeah. Thanks everybody.
Guys, we did it.
We did it.
Bye, beautiful.
Good night, friends.
Bye.
Bye.